Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Joel Sarakula on New Visionaries.
We're joined by Joel Sarakula today, live from the Canary Islands, about his new project called New Visionaries. And how are we doing today?
Pretty good. Well, I feel pretty good. I was quite sick last week, but I'm back in the game now.
There you go.
Writing music, recording music, back pretty much back to my former self.
There you go. There you go. It's never any fun to be down like that. All right. Well, let's jump in with the new project. It's you. You have somebody you're working with on it.
That's right. Phil Martin. He's my basically co producer and co-writer. So we're partners in this project pretty much. And Phil and I wrote the record and produced the tracks together. And we are New Visionaries.
There you go.
So that's the concept. I guess the concept is like songs inspired a little bit by the 70s and soundtracks, but it's also we're also just an instrumental band as well.
Very nice, very nice. Have you ever heard Surprise Chef?
Yeah, I know a bit about them. Right.
Yeah. They're Australian. You're from Australia originally,
that's right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're more like funk oriented, aren't they?
Right. It's kind of they remind me of like the blaxploitation kind of soundtrack.
Sure. Yeah.
There's
definitely there's a bit of that in what we do as well, but there's also you can also hear references of like Air and Krangbin and but yeah, I do love like kind of 70s soundtracks. Yeah, it was a big passion of ours, and David Axelrod and library kind of music and that kind of thing as well.
Right. When I was 11, I was an AC/DC fan. In my life, I was going to move to Australia and play guitar.
Right. Okay. How'd that go?
Didn't work out. No.
I see.
I have not made it there yet. So still would love to make it there. So so how did this partnership come about?
I've known Tim for a few years. Phil, I should say. Sorry, I just revealed his secret identity. It's Phil Martin's. He's I guess his release name. But we met at a party for a common friend in Dordrecht in Holland, which is where he lives. And the common friend had me play as a musician for his private party, for his birthday party at the time. And I kind of said, "Hey, do you know any musicians in town who can just jam with me during my concert?" Because I was playing a solo gig for his birthday. And he said, "Yeah, I know this guy, Phil, and maybe he can play some drums or percussion with you." So Phil, who had never really heard my stuff before, just kind of like went, "All right, I'm up for it," and then ended up really liking the material that I wrote, and he just sort of winged it on conga that day for this party. Basically played an hour and a half of material he'd never really heard before of my songs, and since then we've been really good friends and creative partners on my releases as Joel Sarakula and on some of his projects and now with New Visionaries.
Was it different working on this project when when he was with you on something that was solely under your name?
Yeah, I mean that's I guess the first time we worked aside from that gig, the next time we worked creatively was when I needed drums for a couple of songs on the album I was working at the time, which was Companionship, and he was really up for that. So that's kind of where the recording relationship grew from. I guess with those, when I'm releasing things under my own name and I'm the producer, I'm calling the shots a bit more with that. But my music isn't. It's also kind of a little bit soul funk oriented and it's a bit maybe more soft rock. So you're not rewriting the book as well with that. So I think most of the shots I'm calling are mostly in the rule books, But of course he's like will disagree with me if he thinks I'm making a grave error on one of my tunes. But of course, in a band situation when we're partners, equal partners, uh, that was really a co-production, New Visionaries, and he definitely opened my eyes to doing things different ways, or suggested things which I might not have done. So it's fun. It's like I can't say one way or the other is better. It's really interesting. You know, a partnership or a band is very different because you're listening to other people's opinions,
Right.
and that's you know, for better or for worse. But that's cool. That's part of the experience, isn't it?
How did it work if he's in Holland and you were in the Canary Islands?
Um, we this is we started June 2020, so really early days of COVID. I went in June 2020, literally during like the whole lockdown, kind of the initial lockdown or just out of lockdown. I actually went to Amsterdam to play like in a club, like a late night club for a couple of weeks. And like Holland just opened up the doors again. It was like really early, you know, that was before tests and before you know, all that kind of and all that jazz, and before speaking of, not all that jam, but all that jazz, but and before, you know, pills and all that kind of thing. So it was seemed very open, like that first summer of COVID. Like it was a bit of a free for all, and I went to Amsterdam and I played a couple of weeks in a nightclub, and then I couldn't get back to England because they wouldn't know you really couldn't get back. So I was sort of stuck in Holland. So I called up Phil and I said, "Hey, do you want to make an album?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And like so, for the next week or so, I was before they opened the gates, opened the drawbridge back to the UK. I was in Dordrecht starting what became Roadmaps. So we
Very
did work
nice.
together a lot initially. That like we were in the studio nearly pretty much every day for a week and a half, kind of really getting the bulk of the album together. And we didn't even know what we were doing at that stage. But then we sort of realized, oh yeah, this is kind of like a funky, jazzy instrumental album. Sort of after like 2 weeks after that, we're like, oh yeah, I can sort of see what this is about now. Um, and then you know, things take time, obviously, and so over the next couple of years, we just sort of developed that album. You know, introduced a lot of new songs as well, and put finishing touches on old ones, and yeah, finally, it's out. Well, it's out on vinyl and CD already, and
Oh,
it's going to be streaming from this Friday.
nice. So
Yeah.
when you went into the studio, you guys didn't have any sketches or compositions or anything, or did you have some ideas that you brought to the table to
I mean,
like start off?
I had a couple of things that we readapted for this project, and he had a couple of things that he was sitting on as well. But a lot of it was like just let's see what happens. Like just like the first song, Jello Days, that was really that was a complete jam. And I think the best the Bachelor Interstellar Bachelor Pad as well. That was just a complete jam out of nowhere. I think kind of the best songs in the album really just kind of were just us sitting together, me at the piano or the Rhodes, and he at the drums, and we just sort of started jamming.
Right. Now you refer to this on the website or in some of the materials I got as cinematic soul. Is
Cinematic
that
what? Sorry,
soul? Is that what
or
it was
cinematic
called?
soul. It's, you know, if that's I'm not sure I've ever referred to it as that, but if people want to refer to it as cinematic soul, then yeah, we'll wear that. That sounds good. That sounds fine to me. But yeah, it's kind of got it's definitely a soundtrack inspired, you know. But we don't want to kind of pigeonhole it. It's we're an instrumental band in the end, and and for example, if we were to go out and play a gig, we're an instrumental band playing an instrumental gig like Air, like the French band Air would do, or Karangbin, or
Right.
whatever, or thousands of jazz bands do, you know.
Right.
But we are, yeah, but we are definitely soundtrack inspired, yeah, or cinematic inspired.
I love it. I'm a huge fan of what you have going on. I can close my eyes and it can take you back to some place, but you can't quite place it, which
Yeah,
is it makes it perfect, you know?
Yeah, they're kind of like little movies in your head, just little time capsules or new time capsules. I really love Piero Emiliani as well. I don't know if you know him, but he was like a bit of a guru, a listening guru for us as well. Um, he's like a, he's one of the dons of Italian '70s soundtracks.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. Interesting. It's very I always think of when I think of Italian, I think of what's his name? The Clint Eastwood movies, the spaghetti
Oh,
westerns.
yes, Sergio Leone.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. That's such a catchy little melody there for the good, the bad, and the ugly, or whichever that first
to
one
be,
was.
but some of the greatest, I mean, soundtrack composers have been Italian as well. You know, Henry Mancini as well. I
You know,
guess he'd be Italian American. Nino Rota as well, who did all the Fellini films and The
right.
Godfather, I think.
Right.
Is
I've heard some of them would like watch the movies while they were composing and like play along to
yeah,
the movie.
yeah. I think that's kind of was the way you were supposed to do it in a way. Like,
Right. Pink
uh,
Floyd knocked it out of the park with that "Obscured by Clouds." That was a soundtrack album. I've,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've
I mean, that's
always
a great
been a
album.
huge fan of that one. Huge fan. So let's go back. Your
Wait,
first
I made a factual error before when I said Sergio Leone. He's the director, isn't he? But who's the composer? Uh, the
yeah,
good.
we'll figure it out. It'll come to
I'm
one of us.
I've got a secret other
You're-
screen open on Google, so I'm gonna. Sorry for all the fact checkers out there, because that's obviously Sergio Leone is the name of the director,
right.
and the composer is Ennio Morricone, of course. Ennio Morricone was the
Okay.
composer.
There you go. Now, is New Visionaries ever going to hit the road, or is that not something that you can get on the road?
It would be difficult, but I'd never say never. We'd love to play, and we'd make it a real visual kind of thing as well. Like maybe with, if we were to play for all those promoters, concert promoters tuning in out there, we'd want to have like projectors and do all sorts of kind of crazy visual things
All right.
and smoke machines and maybe
Multimedia.
yeah, really multimedia, interpretive dancing as well. Who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
I love interpretive dancing.
and a
It's
big
so
band
funny.
as well. We'd have like at least 8 people, 7 or 8 people. So I think if you're going to do something like that, you have to do it. If you're going to do an instrumental album live, you need to do something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. You'd get
Just be
cheap on the door.
you can't just be three dudes on a stage, kind of reading music on a
Right.
on a music stand,
You hear the glasses clinking in the back of the club.
wearing unwashed jeans, and your
Oh, man.
bifocals. Yeah.
So, as an independent artist, what are the challenges that you face, and what are the pros of being an independent artist?
Um, I mean, the challenge is always money. I guess it's hard. At this stage, I'm happy. I'm really I'm appreciative of how far I've come. Not that I'm in any great level in the music industry, whatever that means. Anyway, and I guess I'm proud to have built it up to where it is. But the idea of upscaling it to many more times than that is just kind of impossible unless I had a really big budget to play with. So yeah, that's always going to be the biggest challenge. Budget, money. When as an independent artist, I mean, okay, some independent artists might have financial backers or whatever, but maybe that makes them not independent. I don't know, but I'm just saying, as in general,
Mhm.
independent artists don't have much money to play with. So I think upscaling what you're trying to do is always difficult, or not cheapening it as well.
Anything else that you want to talk about that you have coming up that you're working on?
Um, well, Phil and I were talking about doing another New Visionaries album, so we haven't started on that yet. I'm actually finishing up my new upcoming album, which we're looking around November kind of release, October, November.
Okay.
But I'm sort of putting the finishing touches on that in these weeks. Really, I'm sort of coming to the end of that. And then maybe once I have free time again over summertime, Phil and I will look at the New Visionaries again in a follow up to that, which is fine because that's like there's less pressure there. That's like there's no like my personal albums. There's not that I guess I make the pressure, but I've got some kind of schedule and deadline to it. And I've built up that business to a point now where I kind of rely on some of the money I make from it as well as my income. So I need to finish the record as well. But the New Vision is a bit more free for all because we're not.
There you go.
I don't know how many people are expecting the next record from. I hope some people are liking this. We're just putting this out there, and if people dig it, they dig it.
Well,
we didn't make this for an audience. We made this for ourselves. Basically, is what I'm saying.
I hear the new Visionary stuff, and I could see you guys ending up at a jam band festival doing like the 2 a.m. set when everyone's all spun out.
Yeah,
I think that would be perfect. It would be a perfect show for people to stumble onto in the late night 10.
With some kind of like psychedelic displays in the background. Yeah. No, we just project have like Russ Meyer's movies playing on the background. That's just kidding. We'd project some 60s, 70s kind of movies, like old school stuff, like just weird things. Like Eastern European films and then
it would be fantastic.
Like weird kind of giallo kind of films, which is like a style of like blood and gore Italian films. Just like psychedelic weird B movies in the background. I think that would be cool.
That would be fantastic.
I think people would dig it at 2 a.m. at a festival for sure.
It would be perfect. Exactly what you're looking for.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.